So every 3D printer company now has their own AMS unit, and multicolor printing of miniatures and models in general is coming still a bit in range, but I kind of feel it's a bit gimmicky. Yes, I feel that you actually paint them much better than you can 3D print them. So today, I'm going to put that to the test. I've got this model here of the Turbo Granny from, and we're going to print this multicolored and then paint a white one, and we're going to compare which one is best and which one is not. Go through the ups and downs of multicolor printing and find out once and for all, is just painting it much quicker and more cheaper than, well, multicolor? Let's find out and let's get printing. So today's model we're using Turbo Granny from Dandadan, and this model was designed by a guy on MakerWorld called MOONandUNI, who was by CC on MakerWorld. And why I chose this model is actually was designed for painting. There's no multicolor for this option just yet, so I'll do the multicolor myself, but there's a lot of people there who have painted this model, so you've got a good example to compare against a multicolored AMS if, say, my painting is not that great, because, you know, skill issue. So now I have the model loaded in Bambu Studios, and I have the first here, the plain white one, where we're going to print on a 0.4mm nozzle, and that's going to be the base, but we want the coloured version. And for the AMS, we're limited to 4 colours. So here, I just quickly made up a 4 coloured version, with, we got the main base colours, the white, black, red, and then gold, like a yellow colour. What we're actually going to use gold filament. But this model is actually 6 colours. It's actually the paws are pink, and this little like napkin bit is actually green, so it should look something like this. But with the AMS, especially the A1 Mini, and if you don't have 2 AMS units, you can't actually print like that because you're limited to 4. But we can actually do a trick. If you go here, this is what I've set up at a little angle. Why I've set this up at angle and I've set certain prints to different color is we can actually change filament mid-print. Like, nothing's stopping us that. And we can do this if we go to the slicer. We can add a pause in certain parts of the print, and this allows us to change the filament, as I have here. You can easily do this by clicking right-click on it, and you can have add pause or add some custom G-code. What can be very handy if you want to do customized stuff, but today we're just going to pause it. So, we're going to start off with a pause around here, and that's when we're going to change from the pink to the green. And when it gets most of the way up through the little green bib, we're going to stop again, and then change to the red, so it can then do the nice little red color, and then we can go all the way up and do the red at the top. Well, it's pretty nice. And that way, putting it at an angle, allowing us decent plain lines, we can actually swap the colors out, allows us to get 6 colors on this print. But it's always worth noting that it's going to poop a lot. Like, we have a flush tower of like the total waste it's going to make. That's a lot of flushing. And the model itself is only about 100 kilograms. And the waste we're still going to get about 400. And the way I kind of reduced this actually a little bit, it was worse before, filament flushing volumes. So you can actually reduce this a little bit by reducing the multiplier here. And this will, for me, actually when I printed it, I put a 0.6 as well. Go into the settings, flush into infill, flush into supports, select both of those. And especially that we have a white as our main sort of color, if it is a white one, I always like to put the walls up a bit more, especially if you're going to do flush into infill, as sometimes the white is in certain areas not strong enough, you kind of see inside of it. So upping it to 4 in your perimeter walls will actually make it more of a solid white. And let's slice that now. 500 grams of waste before and flushing. Now we've got it back down to basically half our flushing. Well, it's pretty good. And being it's less waste, always good. More filament to actually use. But it's also worth noting, it's still going to be a day print. So let's get that ready and let's get printing. over a day printing later, it is finally done. So all we gotta do is take off the supports and get it all cleaned up. And now with that done, we can take a look at the quality of this model, and it's actually come out much better than I thought. There is a few quality drops around the whiskers, but it's mostly due to the white kind of over extruding a little bit, making like a really clear dimple. And some areas it's kind of made a little mistake and there's some white or black where it shouldn't be, but the quality when you just put it down and step away a little bit is really good. Quite surprising, better than I thought. And now I've got to come up and paint a version to equal or better quality. Let's give that a go. Now we're going to get to the painting at my paint station. I'm going to use a range of paints from Citadel, Army Painter and Vallejo I just have on hand today. I'm going to start off with some golds. We're going to put some pink on the little feet, get that black in there and slowly work in one layer. We're going for like a single layer most of them. The red from the Vallejo goes on really nicely. I was really surprised. Didn't have to do multiple coats there. To get some different textures, I also used a Sharpie on the whiskers and the eyes to try and make it just a bit more distinct from the other black. Get a different color and different sort of texture. One issue I did come up against is actually the paint running into the layer lines. At certain places of the model the layer lines are more distinct and thus some watered down paint can actually run along it, leading to sort of a fuzzy effect. And to try to get this, I put a lot of tape around certain areas to kind of cut this back, but it still had an effect. Hour of painting later, we are done, and I'm quite happy with it. There is some run marks, some misses now and there, but it's gone pretty good. And now it's time to compare it against the FDM counterpart. So now both are finished. We have the little poo monster here and we have the cat we painted up on the right. And looking up close, I'm kind of going to agree that the FDM one does look a little bit better. Mostly because my painting is not all that great right now. And these are actually quite hard to paint. Even though I enlarged this one to make it a bit easier, some of the smaller parts are quite hard. And especially that I just painted straight on the white. Painting over the white actually can lead to sort of like a stain. So kind of got a stain on this and some of the white places that I made miss paints. And that's probably one of the issues with painting up these miniatures. If you're not good, like me now I'm not amazing, the quality can actually drop quite a lot. As the quality you get from the printer, it really depends on the printer. On the cost of printing these, well, kind of say this is probably the cheap one, right? You paint it yourself, but when you add in all the cost of the actual just print of the filament actually used, when you think about the cost of your time, for me it took an hour to paint this. If you think your time, how much did we lose on filament wise for printing this, is actually a little bit less when you think about it that way. But then again, if you want to buy 6 spools of filament, you think about it that way, it's more expensive. So I think it really comes down to how you value your time. If you enjoy painting and think that is a relaxing use of your time and that's something you enjoy, definitely go for the painting. But still, it gives it good for FDM printing with multi-color. And if you don't have the time and you just want color things, you can do that pretty well. You need to really think about the settings though to reduce your waste and the angles. But they're still pretty good. And now what I'm thinking about doing is maybe not 6 colors. Let's say you're printing a figure or something like that. You can do the base colors of a part in multicolor. And that could be another way to kind of get a cool effect on it. And then you only paint in fine details. But that's a little idea for another video. So that's going to end today's episode of Jarvis Labs. And you've liked the content, have you any ideas of other things I can do? Please let know in the comments below. And if you listened all to the end of this video, please like and subscribe. Catch you next time. Let's get the up button. Look at all your poop. Swimming it.